religiosity and intelligence. There's a report done in like 2008 or something, largely because of Dawkins' book that came out, The God Delusion, that tries to state or makes an attempt at stating that, well, atheists are just smarter people. Because people that are big into the Dawkins thing, they don't have any kind of a presupposition at all. That's not a self-serving study, not at all, not at all. That's ridiculous, and obviously that kind of discredits itself as a research thing. But it's been linked to me a couple of times, and I recently saw on the old Drudge Report links to this article just today, saying that, well, Republicans are just dumber than Democrats, and this is from the guy who did the cash online thing, PayPal. The PayPal president said, well, they're the Republicans are just dumb and the Democrats are smarter, and this is somewhat in a way related to this thing. It's whoever thinks that they're right or is intellectually superior means that they should their opinion counts and nobody else's does. That's what they're trying to go, and then they're trying to use garbage like this study to make that point or make some kind of a point. It's garbage though. I've read the document here, and it's totally garbage. But, it makes for good news. So you got all these guys, Science Daily. Ooh, this is exactly what we want to hear. We want to hear that liberals and atheists are smart. See, now it's not just atheists. Now we're going to say liberals also. Yeah. The problem with that is that how can you actually classify this into a little box? Atheism, I can kind of see that. But how do you gauge how liberal someone is? What about people that are liberal in one area and not liberal in another? We just want to make, this is why you should just ignore all this crap. News in general, it all has some kind of a political statement with everything here. But I want to move on here to, intelligent people less likely to believe in God. And then they all relate back to this paper here, which is the Lynn Harvey, what do we got? Richard Lynn, John Harvey, Nyborg thing. Atheism rates across 137 nations. Now, my big question here is, if this was done in America alone, I could see it having relevance. But how do you get accurate data across 137 nations when quite a few nations really don't do IQ testing, especially not religious IQ testing? So what I immediately wondered is where they get their data from. And we go down to their references here, and you see their little list of references, and you look at the stuff, and it's all books by people that are atheists. They have The God Delusion on here as something you're going to write a research paper on. Another guy's book, another guy's book, and you notice the dates, 1922. That's got to be pretty relevant. 1965, 1969. And who are these people with these books? How good is their information? So you look at the data that they're even using, and you immediately are put on a rabbit trail, right? This is a rabbit trail. You got to go get these guys' books and see where they got their data from. And I will say that they do have one legitimate research paper source, and I don't think I can find it in the list, and I don't know the exact name of it, but it is a very good document where they got probably a lot of their numbers from. It's this Hinderman thing. This Hinderman document is where the bulk of their research data comes from. The G factor, internal cognitive ability comparisons. And this is where their IQ test stuff across nations. And funny in here, it doesn't say anything about religious people having a lower IQ. What it primarily says, if I can find it again here, what 16 is down on 23. My little graph we're looking at is the largest factor is in how you grew up and whether or not your parents taught you anything, and whether or not you had any money. So this is what it all kind of boils down to, is you're set up for life based on who your parents are and if you got a stable household. And, I could say that, yeah, if you're, atheists are probably going to be better test takers because they're more likely to be academics. School will beat God right out of you. And if you're like school and you're in science and all that, and you consider yourself an atheist, you probably have taken a lot of these IQ tests and know exactly how to answer them, and you're also going to answer the questions exactly as the school wants you to because you're an expert test taker. You know exactly the information that they want to hear. If you're a guy who takes an IQ test once, who's never taken one before, you're probably not going to get as high of a score. And also in here, what this is saying is that, if your parents are academics, you're more likely to be taught things at a younger age. And that tends to have a little bit higher impact on what your IQ score is going to be. Now, we aren't talking, granted their data is crap with their study, and it's all skewed towards making the atheists look like super brain genius guys. It's a 5-point difference. So the IQ for the average religious person, they say, is 97 or 98, and the atheist is 103. So it's a 5-point difference, which is nothing. I've personally taken several IQ tests, and my range has gone up or down 10 to 15 points. So either I could call myself a super genius or an average guy. What is it more likely? It's probably more likely I'm an average guy. But that just goes to show you that, 5 points, that ain't nothing. And I think that is easily made up by the fact that somebody who's an atheist is going to probably be a science academic guy, and totally his whole worldview is going to be through that lens of an academic, where whatever the textbook tells me is going to be the gospel, and that matches up perfectly with test taking. There's your correlation. Yeah. So I read this study. It's like 600 pages or something like that. I kind of went through everything, but it's a good piece of data. And this is like the only real data that is actually behind the whole atheists are smarter thing. And this doesn't even really touch on it. Yeah. So this is the one we're talking about here for the study. And who knows where they get these numbers from right here. I hate dealing with 200-page PDFs on here, but I got a lot of things to flip through, so we'll do it this way. Their percentage not believing in God. Do you know how they calculate that? In these IQ tests, they usually have, they're subjective in that you've got always true, sometimes true, maybe even, sometimes always not true, always not true. So your questions are you religious? You'll have very religious, pretty much almost all religious, mediocre religious, somewhat religious, not religious at all. And depending on how people answer that is where you're going to be on your percentage believing in God. Now, if that is not a subjective dating method, I do not know what is. And this study actually talks about that's the questions that they're basing it on. And so how much data can you really get out of that? And even the wiki page that relates back to this talks about, it even links the the 5 studies that are basically out that debunk this, that say there's nothing at all to it, because the greatest factor between what your intelligence test score is going to be on your ethnicity and where you are in the country, because different countries are going to have different testing and different cultures, and there's no way you can match that up between people. As much as you want to put people in a little box, that doesn't quite work out in real life. But this is important because it is an all-out assault, more or less, and to say that, well, I'm smarter, therefore my arguments are right, regardless of whatever. I'm smarter than you, so I can get life to come from non-life. I'm smarter than you, so you just don't understand evolution because I'm smarter than you. You just don't understand cosmology and physics. You really don't understand second law of thermodynamics because I'm smarter than you, right? And you're talking about a 5-point difference. Even if you take everything that they say as gospel, it's a 5-point difference. Could you tell the difference in talking to someone between a person with 100 IQ and 105 IQ? I don't think so. That'd be pretty difficult. So I'd be interested to see what this is for America alone. They got their nice little graphs here. Because, I would actually be pretty interested in what this comes out to if it was an actual serious, accurate study. But this here is a snow job. It's a propaganda thing that, it looks like it's something to trump up Dawkins, give him something to talk about, because their reasons for even doing the research were based on Dawkins' book, God Delusion. I'll let you know right there where they're coming from. But like I said, my particular interest is where they get their data from, and I love that. All of these books by prominent atheists from the 60s, 1920s. They have one document here that is actually a relevant, maybe 2. Here they get their atheist numbers from their study on atheism in 2007. I haven't looked at that one, but they have 2 documents from 2007 where they're actually scientific documents with some numbers where you can actually correlate and collate the data. But all this other stuff is like you're going to read Dawkins' book and then come out with a research report on it? You got to be kidding me. Where's Dawkins getting his data from? Is he going to go to, a Christian location to get their numbers on the average intelligence of Christians, or they're going to go over and get the average intelligence of Nation of Islam people, or what are you basing this on? So I'm just putting this quick thing out here to let everybody know what's the deal with that. And, as I said, I'm only doing this because of this. It's coming out up here now on Drudge Report, after I've just out of nowhere been hit with these posts saying that, well, you're religious, so you're dumber than people that don't believe in anything, or believe that people evolved from hydrogen. Yeah, the religious people are dumb. But yeah, the Thiel gets real. Republican Congress IQ lower than Dems. So there you go. You should have the Democrats in charge, because liberal atheists are apparently smarter according to these fools. Don't let them get away with that. Let them know they're a bunch of lying atheists. That's about all I got. Hold on. Fade in that music. I almost forgot about something. Obviously, this study is kind of discredited because the cultural differences between the countries is so great. You can't accurately test any of this stuff. And here's the reason I didn't state it explicitly, but I'm guessing that in places like Saudi Arabia, and some of these little countries, Nepal, Morocco, I gotta kind of wonder what they're teaching in their schools as far as evolution goes, which is the biggest killer of anyone's faith. A lot of these things in here, if they're a little third world deal, you got a chief there, Chief Unga Bunga El Presidente of your country, says that Presidente Unga Bunga created the universe. Like the old Kim Jong Il and Un guys. They're the gods for the country. Now, are those guys going to be religious, or are they not going to be religious, being that worship is under penalty of death? In some of these other places, obviously in the European areas, evolution is taught in the school systems as being just, the only way that things happen. But I did see down here, good old South Korea right here. They have a significantly higher IQ than, I think America's 97 or something like that. But, they're getting up into the range where they're not a statistical anomaly. They are generally, as a people, smarter people. And they have a 30% amount of people that don't believe in a God of any sort. So they got 30% agnostic, atheist. That sounds kind of high. I would expect that is like an agnostic thing. This not believing in God is kind of a I don't know kind of a thing, because 30% is pretty high for South Korea. And the reason I picked these guys out is because I have a little info on them. These guys are really smart, right? I got Singapore's up at 108, which is like astounding. But South Korea, 106, okay? Well, good old South Korea don't believe in evolution. South Korea is removing evolution from its textbooks because it's junk. They want to get the lies out of the textbooks, right? They want accurate textbooks. So if there is no evidence to support what's in the textbooks, they're taking it out. So what do you think of that? So smart people don't believe in evolution even though they may be atheists? Yeah. So as I said, this study is going to be a worthwhile study if you pick a country and stick with it, where all the testing standards are the same. But I got to think that, out in Senegal or whatever, where their IQ is below retarded at 66, I think retarded is like 72 or something like that. And, they all believe in God. I'm guessing in Senegal, I'm not sure. I've never heard of this country before, but, they probably have whatever their religion is. They're taught in schools for 2 hours a day, and they're required to know it at the threat of getting beaten to death. I just a guess. And, I got to kind of wonder how accurate their IQ test is at 64. I mean, are they giving them an American test in English, and that's not in their natural language? Yeah. I just wanted to come back in here and quick point out, that, okay, you can say that smart people are more likely to be atheists, but then they're also not going to believe in evolution, huh? According to this here. The old South Koreans there. Yeah. Anyway. With that, I'm out.